Hi, Fiber friends. Welcome to the Fiber Artist Podcast today. Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to take a little shopping trip, head to neuromastudio.com and get 15% off using the code PODFRIEND. We have a huge selection of premium cotton rope and string, recycled cotton rope and string, merino, wool roving, art yarn, recycled silks and ribbons, and tons of other scrumptious fibers for weaving and macrame. Again, the code is PODFRIEND for 15% off at Neuroma Studio. If you're enjoying these episodes, please don't forget to like each episode, subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, and leave a comment or ask a question. I will definitely answer you. Another thing you can do to help out the pod is tell all your creative friends about it. It really helps to spread the word. Now, finally, for today's guest, we have Meg Spitzer on the pod. I am such a huge fan of Meg's work. Her Monstera macrame is behind me. So obviously, I like her work. And I actually just commissioned another piece from her that will replace that one. So I am really excited to debut it soon. Meg and I chat about her early years, how she was drawn to art and creative endeavors from an early age, and how that carried her through to adulthood. We chat a bit about her process, her cross-country move from New York to California, and how motherhood and a bit of isolation helped her to find her creative soul again. You can find Meg online at megspitzer.com and on Instagram at meg.spitzer. All right, enough rambling from me. Here's Meg. So how are you doing today? Thanks for joining me on the pod.
Of course. Thank you for having me. This is like such a bucket list item, so I just can't believe it's real.
You're so sweet. Well, I have to say, I have been a big fan of your work for a very long time, which you have to know since I have an original Meg Spitzer up behind me. And in a couple weeks or however long, I don't know, I'll have another one, right?
Very soon. Yes. I'm so excited.
I'm excited too. So I guess before we kick it off, can you just introduce yourself, your name, and where people can find you online and on Instagram?
Yeah, so I'm Meg Spitzer, and Instagram is just meg.spitzer, and then my website is just megspitzer.com.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, I guess like if you just want to, I'm trying to think of how long have I known of you? I'm not even sure. I just know that there comes a time, like, you know, I scroll so much and I like see so many different artists, and like sometimes people's work just totally speaks to you, and yours always has to me, like directly to me. So I know I've been following you for a little bit, but tell me, how did this all start for you? And how did you, I mean, and you can even go way back. We can talk childhood. Have you always been creative? And then just how did you find fiber?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll take it way back because I mean, that's where it starts, I guess.
Yeah, totally. I think so too.
So I was always creative as a child. It was always a part of me making with my hands, drawing. And my mom says that I wasn't interested in walking because I was too busy drawing.
Really? Oh my God.
And I was just very content, and I was always coloring and painting and making messes, and painting rocks was my first big business venture as a 5-year-old. I would find perfect canvas rocks, and there was this extensive washing process, and so every sink in my house was full of rocks. And then I would lay them out to dry, and I would paint them and try to sell them. And then in middle school, I actually had a little bit of a friendship bracelet business. I had like a hot pink and black little plastic suitcase that I would pack them with and bring them to school and try to sell them between periods.
Nice. I remember the friendship bracelet days. Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was probably the only interaction with fiber art I had until like 2019, which is, I don't know why it took me so long to get with the program, but.
So what did you do in between there?
So
high school, college?
So there was a magnet program at my high school, Visual Performing Arts VPA. You had to submit a portfolio. So I put the friendship bracelet business aside to make a portfolio in 8th grade. And then I got into that in ninth grade. And that was cool because they had all these very kind of eccentric teachers, and they all were doing all of the studio art, ceramics, mixed media, painting, charcoal drawing, a lot of, not figure drawing that young, but still life. That's the word I'm looking for. Nice. Still life, photography, got into photography. We had like a little mini turnstile darkroom in the back of the photography class.
Oh, that's so awesome. You basically had a dream childhood and dream, education as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So is this really in Southern California?
No, this was in Florida. So I was born in Schenectady, New York. And then we moved to Orlando when I was 7 because my dad always wanted to work for Disney. And so he moved me, my brother, and my 2 newborn sisters, twins, to Florida to work for Disney.
Cool. So, what did he do for Disney? Was he
just
something creative?
I mean, he kind of... He's a finance guy. He had his own electrical business when he graduated high school and just like started his own business right out of high school. So never went to college, had a family in the Schenectady area. And then my parents just always were obsessed with Disney, and they went on their honeymoon, and we always vacationed there.
Oh, you guys were like big year. Disney people. That's so funny. Like I have friends from high school who are like, I mean, they're like die hard, so everybody sort of dresses the same when they go there, and they all have, and they like plan it. They plan every outfit and they plan every like photo. It's so cute.
Yeah, I wore the costumes to the park so I could be like the characters and. Yeah, so that was us. And so he moved us when I was 7, my brother was 3, and then my sisters they were just born in July. I think we moved in like October or something. So do you have twin sisters? Twin sisters, yeah. They're 7 years younger than me.
Okay, wow.
So I grew up in Orlando, and that was interesting. We went to Disney all the time so he started actually scooping ice cream at Epcot, the land, the ride. And then he just kind of figured it out from there and just kept getting promoted and just kind of, they're really good about promoting people within the company. Nice. So he's still there. He's actually hopefully retiring this year, but we never really believe him when he says
oh my gosh, he's still there. That's
refuses
awesome.
to leave.
I mean, the happiest place on earth. What you gonna do?
I know. He agrees. So, so I went to high school at Dr. Phillips High School in Orlando, and they had the VPA program, and then they had one other magnet program for international, like CIS. Center for International Studies was the other one. So they had 2 magnets. And so the drama program was big. It was like drama, music, art. Maybe there was one other one, but I can't remember. Dance.
Okay.
And then I graduated in 2001. And immediately, I went to college that summer. So I moved out, went to University of Florida in Gainesville. And went to their College of Fine Arts. So the first 2 years, you just do studio classes, same thing, painting, charcoal. They have like an art boot camp there you have to go to the first 2 semesters, or it's the first semester, and then whoever is left gets to take the studio classes the rest of the year.
So did you have like a concentration? Like, did you know if you wanted to go in a certain direction?
I have no idea. I had always had an affinity for drawing. Charcoal was kind of my jam, and that was only solidified in the first 2 years of school. But I knew that I wanted to move to New York City after I graduated college, and I thought I should probably do something more in the line of like graphic design or digital arts is what I ended up going with, just so I could
get a job.
Well, that's a big part of not only going to New York, but staying in New York.
Totally.
But it was a hard decision because that's, when I look back at my life, that's when I really lost that tangible material in my hands.
Yeah.
Like I moved to New York, and then it was just all about staying there and making money and making a living. And it's hard when you first move to New York, but I think I did not take that into consideration in my struggles. Like that was my therapy. It always had been my therapy. And I didn't put that together until years later.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. You lose yourself. Your first few years. I mean, I say you lose yourself. I guess you're just in the process of finding yourself. But I definitely, the same thing happened. I think I just was like, okay, I need to survive. I need to make money. And I partied a lot, but I was like making money just so I could party. And, and you're having fun. So you're not really thinking about what your soul needs in a way. It's like, it's day to day.
Exactly.
Which I kind of like, you kind of need that maybe in your 20s for a little bit to have the experience.
I think so.
Yeah.
They were the best and the worst years of my life.
Totally.
My early 20s. I mean, they were so hard. They were so magical. I'm so grateful for them. I wouldn't change anything about them. But I stopped making, I painted occasionally. I'd find these like canvases on the street in Brooklyn on my way home, and I'd carry them back to my apartment and I'd paint on them. But that was really the extent of it until I moved to LA and had kids. And,
And then you refined yourself. Wait, so when you were in New York, what were you doing for work?
Okay, so my first job, I was a server at a small restaurant. You may have heard of it, Planet Hollywood in Times Square.
Yes.
Because I thought, naive little Floridian coming into the big city, that's where all the money was, and that's where you made your tips. And I was wrong. But it was a great learning experience. So I was there for 6 months. And then I got a job as a studio manager at a graphic design, like a very small graphic design studio in Flatiron. It was just me and the owner and the actual graphic designer. So I would kind of accept all the artwork coming in, keep the office organized, do inventory, stuff like that.
I mean, we probably passed each other on the streets a bunch of times because that's where my office was in Flatiron too. And it's so funny because we used to, when I was at the PR firm, we used to share the office with a graphic design firm that was exactly like what you're describing. It was like a 3 to 4 person office. I mean, I'm pretty sure we walked by each other like a zillion times. Yeah.
19th Street.
Nice. Yep. I was on we're on 27th first, and then we moved to 26th, I guess. Yeah, I think 26th, but yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah. So that was in, 2000. I moved to New York my 22nd birthday in 2005.
Oh, so you went like right after
2006. School. I was out of here. I was like, let's do this. I'm ready. Yeah. So then I was there for about a year or two, but so my major, back to what I actually graduated in, digital arts and sciences, was more like time-based media production, post-production, so video, video editing, that sort of thing. So I wanted to be an editor. So I got a job after about a year at a video post-production facility called Vidiots in the West Village. And I was there for 4 years, I think. Same thing, pretty admin job, but I would stay after and kind of shadow the editors because they were always working late and trying to, make deadlines and stuff. And then I realized that they kind of lived in the darkness. And they were just in this Avid room, for these very long days, 8 to 10 hours a day, with one other person, and they didn't really see the sun, and they worked so hard, and they loved it, and they were good at it, and they were making a lot of money. But I just was like, I don't know if that feels like it's something that would bring me joy, if I should pursue, because I was just really, like you said, going out, hanging out, socializing, like very much, way more social than I am now. Just very loving it, all of that part of life. So I started baking. This is when I started baking. And I went to like a 12-week baking course at the Institute of Culinary Education in New York. And I learned how to bake, everything from bread, cookies, cakes. I love cakes. They were my favorite. So I would bake things. I'd bring them into the post-production facility, and I'd serve them to all the clients. And I started making cakes for friends and parties. And I started making cakes that were in the shapes of like dogs and cats. And
Oh, how fun.
I did a Schlitz beer can with like a metallic edible spray once for my brother-in-law. And so that was really fun. So then I got to make and be creative again in that way. And then I started shadowing a chef after hours and helping him with his payroll for a big event space in the Upper East Side.
So this is all while you're working for the post-production studio?
Yeah.
So you're like planning your exit?
Pretty much, yeah. I'm always kind of like thinking about the next thing. Yeah. Like, what's next? Especially if I'm not, content, or if I'm, not as happy as I know I could be.
Right.
I think it's just human nature to just always be like, what else is going on?
Right. Like, does this still fulfill me? Yeah.
Right. And especially when you're that young. Like, I was like, I'm just going to try it all and like see what sticks. And I started working in the pastry kitchen, and that's how I met this chef. It was like through a friend, and he was like, hey, can you help me? Can you come up when you're off your shift and do the payroll and the inventory and the invoicing? And I was like, yeah, I love that stuff. So then I started doing that, and then a full-time gig opened up in the accounting department at the event space. And so I moved over there into events, and I was doing accounting, and then I would do like some pastry on the side. And then I started doing selling and coordinating the events, and that was probably 2010, I would say.
I love how your journey, like, it transitions, but so smoothly. Like, were you kind of freaking out, or would you just be like, oh, opportunity here, time to go this way?
I think I don't remember freaking out. Now that I'm like old and kind of set in my ways, I think I'd be freaking out more. Yeah. But at the time, it was like, oh, sure, I'll say yes. Like, sure, I'll do this. And I just love working. I love being busy. I've had a job since I was 15. I got a job at a juice bar when I was 15, and I just always worked. And, I find joy in being busy, and it makes it just, I feel alive, and it makes me feel good. And so I kind of just kept going. And then I ended up selling and coordinating events, which is it's such a weird, topsy-turvy way of getting to where I am today. But I just kind of I don't know, I was drawn to certain things, and I just kind of followed breadcrumbs, no matter where they were, how random they seemed. And
you're like an example of the power of yes, that book where you're like supposed to say yes, something like that, right? Where you're supposed to say yes to everything that comes.
Yeah. Well, now I'm saying no.
Yeah, I know, exactly. And then and then the next book came out, and they were like, no, now you need to learn how to say no. Exactly.
Yeah, I needed to read that book, I guess. But now I'm tired. I'm like, oh, I can't say yes anymore. I've said yes so many times. I'm just gonna say no.
Totally.
Yeah.
So you did events for how long?
So I did events. So for 2 years. 2 years? No, 2010. And I got married in 2012. And then I got pregnant in 2015. So 5 years. Okay.
And were you, when did you end up moving to LA?
So I had my son in April of 2016, and then we moved in September.
Oh, okay. So you were in New York that whole time?
I was in New York the whole time. Oh, yeah.
In Brooklyn?
I was so I started in the East Village, then I was in Queens. Then I was in Brooklyn, and I popped back into the West Village for a year. I missed Brooklyn, so I went back to Brooklyn.
Nice.
But Brooklyn was my favorite.
Yeah.
I always just came from Brooklyn because I was there most of the time anyways. So.
Yeah, totally. So that's a big
Yeah.
change, though, to go from Brooklyn to LA. Do you have family or anybody in LA, or was that a move based on what?
It was a move based on my husband's job.
Okay.
So he got a job offer. He was in television. I actually met him at the post-production facility.
Oh, nice.
He was working for HBO Sports at the time, and he was a client. So I flirted pretty heavily with him.
Nice. And then you scored.
And vice versa. And then, so then that was 2016. It was a crazy year. We felt like we were ready to leave the city. You know, I was about to have Jack, and we've been talking. We were there for 11 years. He actually grew up in Vermont. His parents were still there. And we always we went to Vermont. We still do now, you know, with the exception of the past 2 years. But Vermont's like our summer happy place.
Nice. It's a great place to go in the summer.
Yeah, it's kind of like our second home. So it was kind of like he knew that a job offer here might be coming, but he wasn't sure. And so we were kind of like, okay, well, if it comes, we'll go to LA. If it doesn't, we'll go to Vermont. Mm-hmm. But it felt like the timing was right to leave the city anyways. Yeah. And then he got the call, and then we moved out here. But we didn't, I didn't know anyone out here.
Yeah.
And I had a, 6-month-old baby. And he was working all the time, and, TV, the hours are long. So it was tough, but we made it work, and I just joined a bunch of mom groups and tried to get out as much as I could, and made a few friends. We were on the West Side in Mar Vista for, I think 3 years. I had my daughter there, and then we moved to Studio City in January of 2020.
Oh, nice. Good timing, I guess, too.
So we were like, is it the best timing or the worst timing? And we have no idea which one it is.
Yeah.
But it was, if you're familiar with LA at all, I was like, oh, we'll still see friends, on the West Side. It's not that far. And it's not that far on Sundays when there's no traffic.
Right.
It can be like 20, 25 minutes. But it's far enough that we were essentially starting over again, and then COVID happened a month later, and then we were just an island.
Yeah, I know.
So,
but market-wise, I guess it was probably good to buy the house January 2020 versus like June of 2020, because weird shit happened with COVID,
I know.
At least with real estate. So it's been crazy.
It's insane. It's totally insane. Yeah.
So okay. So then so you had 2 very young kids, and then you started making in 2019. So how did that happen? How did that come about?
So my daughter was born in March of 2018. And then so I've heard this story so many times, and I love it. It warms my heart so much how I started, because I wanted to find something for her room and for over her crib. And I, being an East Coaster, am just perpetually afraid of earthquakes all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I hope one doesn't happen during this conversation, because you'll see how I react, and it's not very cool. It's very uncool.
Wait, so have you experienced a few now that you've been there?
I've experienced a couple that I really felt. The last one, I did the opposite of what you're supposed to do. And I got up and started running around, and my mom thankfully was sitting next to me. And I was like, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And she was like, we sit down. And I was like, oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Thanks,
so I sat down.
Oh my
God. I think I was just like, my impulse was to run to the kids, but they were in their beds. They were safe. There's no safer place to, like, what am I going to do? I'm going to wake them up and freak them out. So anyways, I was trying to find something for above her crib without corners, in case it fell off the wall or something. And I didn't know at the time that rope was heavy. I was talking to my mom, and I was like, what are those things? They're big and they're soft and they're made of, like, I don't know, rope or I had no words. I didn't know what words to use. And she was silent for the longest time, and she was like, macrame? And shocked. And I was like, yeah, I think that's it. I think it's macrame. And so she thought it was hilarious, and she got me a macrame wall hanging kit for Christmas that year.
Oh,
So it
that's
was
so nice.
2018, and I think it was a joke, but I did it in like 2 hours, and I was
Nice.
obsessed, totally hooked.
That's
And then
awesome.
buying more rope, and I think yeah, that was January 2019 is when I started doing
Wow.
macrame, and then I started weaving, I think, in November of 2019.
Okay. Wow. So it hasn't even really been that long.
It hasn't really been. I'm a
Although
newbie.
it also feels probably really long because the last few years have been so weird, you
It's
know?
so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I've had a lot more like hands-on time than I would have had maybe in any other year
Yeah.
for
Yeah, oh, for
sure,
sure. For
because
sure.
I've just been home, and I've had the little ones, and so keeping my hands busy leads to a lot of tapestries.
Yep, for sure. Wait, so when your mom, when you guys figured out that it was macrame you want to make, was she having flashbacks?
Yeah, I mean, she was born in '62, so
Yeah.
she had seen a lot of it, and she couldn't believe it. And now she's a huge supporter.
Yeah.
Obviously, she's very it's not a joke anymore, but
Yeah. You're like, Mom, this is my business now.
she got a kick out of it at the beginning for sure.
Nice. Um,
Yeah.
so after you did have kids, did you go back to work in any capacity other than when you found your fiber practice?
I didn't. I was home with Jack, and then I got pregnant. Oh, so let's see. I started actually. I was having a hard time being at home with Jack, and I couldn't figure out why, and I couldn't figure out what I needed. And then I think it was my husband who one day was like, "Why don't you go take an art class?" And I was like, I don't know where to begin. I don't know where I am. I never know where I am in LA. I still am lost all the time.
Yeah.
But
That's how I feel when I go there. I'm like, I just like, thank God for, GPS, because if we were still having to MapQuest everything or something like that, I would just be lost all the time.
all the time.
Yeah.
And I still use my GPS every time I go out because the traffic is different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm always lost, and I just accepted it. But I found a little art studio in Culver City, Klein Art Academy, I think it was, and they had these figure drawing classes. And so I would be able to go and be alone, not alone, but myself with other people for 3 hours just drawing these models. And it was heaven.
So
and
nice.
I would leave there. It was like, I think it was 9 to 12 on like Saturday mornings, and I would leave like I had just gone to the spa. I was so relaxed. I was so grounded. I was so centered. And it was obvious what I needed in my life. So that was February of 2017. And then I got pregnant in June of 2017. So I was like, I guess I'll just stay home. I did go on a couple of interviews when I was pregnant with my daughter, but I was pregnant, and I feel like it
didn't go anywhere.
Time to interview people,
really hard.
Yeah, and I couldn't. I really loved events, and I loved being at events, and I knew I could, figure out how to do it here in LA, of course, but I couldn't figure out, just with the schedule and long hours and weekends and these two little ones, and I was trying to, figure it out, and then I just kept making, and then for a minute there, I wanted to apply to an art therapy master's program.
Ooh.
So I was making a portfolio to apply to that. I still might someday. It's kind of very intriguing to me.
Yeah.
At Loyola Marymount, I think it is. But then I just kept making, and then I got involved, with my kids' schools and stuff, and now I'm busy again, and it's great, so that's kind of where I am.
Nice. So do you still have the piece that you made for your daughter's room?
I never made it.
Oh, of course. Oh my God. Is that not how it always goes? I bought a canopy bed thinking that I would do some kind of curtain something on it, like on all the sides. Nothing. It's bare. It's bare naked. And yeah, I have no All of my best laid plans have just not gone anywhere.
I know. Yeah. That's how it happens. But you're not alone. I feel like that's just how it goes sometimes. And I'm sure I'll make it someday. I'll make it maybe for her college dorm or something.
Yeah. That's when she'll really appreciate it. Because, toddlers don't give a shit,
No, I have tried to hang stuff in her room and she has asked me to take it out.
Really?
She has very specific opinions for what she wants her room to look like. Yeah. So I was like, I'll try not to take it too personally.
Oh, wow. It's so weird? This is bringing me back. I made, just out of roving, like 2 puffy, cloudy sort of pieces for a friend of mine. Dye Queen. Wait, is that who I gave it to? I don't know. It was like for one for each of her kids' rooms, a girl and a boy. And I think her younger kid was like scared of it. Like she couldn't hang it up. She said she was scared of it. And she was like, 2 or something at the time. But I was like, oh, weird. Like it's so fluffy and soft. And she's like, yeah, I don't know. There's something she doesn't like.
There's something. Yeah.
Kids are weird.
When the lights go out and there's a shadow, maybe it makes a weird shadow. Maybe. It pops off the wall. I don't know. Yeah.
It's so funny.
Like, all right, girl, you do you. I'll support you in all of your endeavors.
Totally. So how old are they now, your kids?
So Jack is 5 and B is 4. She just turned 4.
Oh, they're still little.
Last week. Yeah, they're little.
Are they in school now? Are you getting time? Yeah.
I say it and I always knock on wood when I say it.
I know.
Because although recently it's been the past few weeks I've been like, okay, all right, maybe school is a consistent thing.
Yeah. Our kids' school as of today are now masks are optional, which is huge. Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
I was like, oh, are you excited to see your friends' faces? My kid was like, no. I was like, oh, okay. He's like, I see him when we have snack. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I know. I part of me is like, it seems like a bigger deal to us maybe because I don't know.
They're so used to it. Yeah.
They're so used to it. And my son, last Monday, they started making masks optional outside. Oh, nice. And so his friends outside, I got a picture sent to me and they're all maskless except for Jack because he's so used to it and so he came home and I was like, we talked about outside and it's okay with us as a family. If you want to take it off, it's okay. And he's like, I know, but you said it's my choice. I'm like, you're right. It's your choice.
Yeah. Oh, cutie.
He'll do it when he's ready.
Yeah, totally. I know my younger one said, he was like, a lot of kids say they're going to keep theirs on. So I'm going to decide when I get to school what I want to do. I was like, that's fine.
Yeah.
And then my older one, he's almost 10, but it was so funny. Like he, without fail, every morning has like a dry toothpaste in the corner of his mouth. So I'm always telling him to clean it. But I don't think he cared because he was always wearing a mask. Like he just never looks at his face after he's done brushing his teeth. And today, without being prompted, he was like, oh yeah, today we don't have to wear masks, right? And I said, yeah. And he was like, do I have anything on my face? I was like, so you do think about it. He just didn't care before.
Now we have to start asking ourselves that question again. If there's something in my teeth or if there's something in my face.
Exactly. I know.
Yeah. It was kind of nice for so long to just not have to think about it.
Totally. I mean, frankly, you almost didn't have to like brush your teeth because you're
I know.
You're only killing yourself,
There were some mornings.
Of course.
There were some mornings.
Oh yeah, girl. I know. I know. I mean, I would stretch it to like 3 p.m. Be like, oh, I think it's time.
Did I? I don't know.
At that point, you've had coffee and whatever. It's like, And it's such a solitary lifestyle, too. It's like, who am I talking to? It doesn't matter.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Well, I would love to know a little bit more about your creative process because I don't know. I am so... Like, I marvel at your pieces. I mean, I even have the Monstera piece, and my mind is boggled. So, I guess I'm curious, like, how do you, when ideas spark for you, is it something that, like, they come before you start a piece? Do you plan things out? Are things just serendipitous?
It's kind of random. It's as random as my life. It just comes to me when it does. And I have a running list and the notes section of my phone of just things I want to try, things, ideas I have. I'll sketch them out if that's applicable. Sometimes I have like these crazy dreams and I'll wake up and I'll just like sketch them out really fast before they're gone. A lot of times I find inspiration in architecture and interior design. So like a room, I'll see a picture of a room with like random colors, that work really well throughout the room that I never would have thought of, or rugs, other textiles, and it's just things with, there's like, I really love this like fence I saw the other day. Structures for some reason really speak to me. Clean lines, geometric spaces. It's so random.
That's funny. I felt the same way when I was weaving more. I was really into, like, even walking around New York. I remember taking a photo of like the facade in like on Houston. There were like, I don't know, there was this facade of like 3 buildings connected, and just the way that like the light was hitting it at that point, and because they were kind of like blush pink and a pale yellow and then like a clay brown, and all 3 together, I was like, oh. And I ended up using that photo for a piece that I wove, and it was probably one of my favorite pieces. I don't even know where it went. I guess I sold it. But it's interesting. Architecture hit me a lot. You know, as far as
I totally get that.
Yeah,
for sure. I know. I'll go like in Vermont in the summers. I'll be totally immersed in nature and I'll like look for it, but I just feel relaxed. It's almost like my mind just like turns off. It's like, not that it's like no inspiration here, but it just does, it goes somewhere else.
Completely. Well, I think you have to turn it off in a way in order to receive information, like to bring in input, because otherwise it's just like spinning, Yeah, like getting out into nature thing. So since you're in Southern California, do you are you a hiker, or do you get out and like, no beach time?
Well, definitely beach time with the kids. I mean, we go on Sundays and we just, we run around on the beach, and that's our jam. I miss the beach from being on the west side, being so close. I mean, I could run a mile, and be at the beach and run up and down the beach, and my whole week was made. But here it's hiking. We're right next to a big hiking trail. And so whenever I tell anyone where I live, they're like, oh, so you hike, and I have to break the news that I am not a hiker.
No.
I have done it and I will do it again, but it's not my favorite thing to do.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. Like when I went to LA in 2017, I think, for like a pop-up. And I mean, what is that famous hiking spot? Like,
is it Runyon?
Yes, Runyon Canyon. Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, I'm in LA, so I guess I should hike. So I remember I brought my sneakers and everything. It was nice. It was very nice to, get out and do it. It was just so funny to see, because it's so popular that like, I feel like I saw a couple famous people, and like, it was kind of a scene.
It's a scene.
Yeah.
I know.
I was like, this isn't quite the connection to nature thing that I thought it would be, but I'm going to take a selfie because this is what we do. Right. Yeah. It was very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I wish I was more into it, really, because whenever I do it, I'm like, yeah, no, it's beautiful. The scenic overlook is beautiful, and I'm glad I'm here. I'm ready to go home and have lunch.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
For me, I'd much rather put on, music and go for a run.
Yeah. So you're a runner.
I get the same adrenaline.
Yeah, for sure. Do you feel like in your creative journey right now, are you full of inspiration, or are you having creative blocks?
I feel...
Because I feel like there's no middle. I don't know. I'm
inspired. I'm inspired right now.
Yeah.
It feels really, it's good. And when I'm having, because we all have moments of the drought, where it's just like, oh, but it helps to have, that list, or I always keep an, inspiration board with pictures like the one you described of the colors on the buildings.
Yeah.
And then if I'm really just not feeling it, I don't force myself. I don't want to force anything if it doesn't feel like the right time. And so then I'll just take classes or do more tutorials and learn different techniques, because I know I want to weave and I know I want to use my hands, and I know that that's therapeutic and grounding to me, and it will help me feel at peace. And so sometimes just the act of doing what someone tells me to do is so needed and so helpful.
Definitely. With your squish squares, how did those come about? Was there like that's what they're called, right?
Yeah. So I did the first one with just a macrame, like I just had rope, hanging down, and then I made the rope grid. And then I tried, it was actually, cross stitch. I did a cross stitching tutorial, and I loved the act of it and the idea of it, but I didn't love how small it was. I'm more of a macro and less of a micro. So I was like, how can I do this technique on a bigger scale?
Awesome.
So I made the rope grid, and then I used roping because it's so fun and squishy. And then I just did the same cross stitch action in the big rope grid that I made, but it wasn't weighted down, on the bottom and the sides. So it was kind of, and I knew I could improve on it. It was good in the end, but it was a struggle to get it all even and hold it in place. And so I met this local woodworker who actually made the looms, the party roll looms.
Oh, nice.
For the kids. And I was like, can you make these square frames for me? It's just a frame with holes. He's like, yeah, sure. And they're way, more beautiful than what I had in my head even.
Oh, it's so nice.
So I just got a batch of those, and that has been very therapeutic to make squish squares. The past couple months, I would just make a squish square, and I had all these patterns that I sketched out in my sketchbook, and I would just throw some colors together that I thought looked cool. And they're all different.
They're so pretty, and like I don't know, it's fun because all the different kind of palettes you can choose for them. But you know what I'm like dying to see, and you probably have them, like some of them I'm sure have sold or whatever, but like on a wall, like installed next to each other, but with no space in between them. You know what I mean? Like one giant quilt. Like, I don't know. It reminds me of, you know how like they have those things where they're like a photo of a person, but if you zoom in, you can see that it's like individual pictures of other things. It's like, it reminds me of that. I would love to see that and then like take a wide shot of it. Just so pretty.
A big wall size square.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be very cool.
Be very cool. So somebody commission it. Yeah.
I'll talk to him about it. Yeah.
I love them.
Very cool.
Yeah. So you had mentioned like sometimes you dream and you sketch. Have you been able to turn any of those into reality, into a piece?
No. I had a dream last summer. This is the one that I just always think about. And it was my mother-in-law. She has a lot of artist friends, and she brought me to this gallery that her friend was putting on and featuring all of her art in. And it was 2 rooms. I remember it so clearly. And it was all neutral, which is weird for me because I'm such a color lover. And I was just so smitten with how they were made. And I can't even really describe how they were, but they were all, different, like white and cream and neutrals. And it was, I can't even describe it. It was kind of like a screen.
I know, it's hard to talk about.
But in different shapes. And it was woven through, and I've tried to replicate it, and I can't, and I still go back to the sketches. But that one haunts me. Other ones have been colors, mostly, I would say, different color combinations. And then one piece that I made did come from a dream. Which one was that? I can't remember which one that was. But it is very gratifying when you see something in your dream and then you make it. I mean, sometimes it is. Sometimes it's like, that wasn't really what I thought it was.
Right. Or it could just end up becoming something completely different. Yeah.
Completely different and beautiful in its own way.
Yeah. Totally.
So you have to try. I mean, I always, check back to see what my to-do list. I always have just a running to-do list. And if I have, a bunch of commissions lined up and I'm just doing a bunch of commissions, those thoughts still come, those dreams still come, those ideas still come, those don't stop. So I just write it down and sketch it out so it's there when I have time for it.
So you're smart that you write it down and sketch it out, because I feel like I end up letting them leave my brain, which is not good. Like even when I was at the peak of like my making time, I feel like, I don't know, I just never got any of it down. I think because I don't think I'm like not a good sketcher, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, I've done that too. It's like you can't capture all of it. You can't. Some of it you're going to lose some of it, and that's just part. But it's also such a gift to have, to be able to receive those thoughts and ideas.
Yeah, for sure.
Have them come to you. So I just try to focus on that part of it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you know what's crazy? I have followed you forever, and I see I thought I saw all of your posts, but I did not know that you were doing party roll kits until I started researching for this conversation. So if anyone else is maybe in that same boat, please talk about your party roll kits. and put them out there and publicize it, because I'm dumb and I did not know they were there.
No. I think it's just the nature of how things are these days. Like I'm not seeing, so many people that I want to see and so many artists that I follow. I have to search them out. It's just kind of how it is these days.
I know. And it's not only even like searching them out, but it's like you have to be constantly browsing and engaged in like every story to actually see. And then even if you are doing that, how much are you lingering on a certain story or a person or whatever, or post? You know what I mean? Like we're just moving so quickly that
we're moving so quickly.
Yeah.
And I wish I had more control over
me too.
What was shown to me, because I want to see, I want to support, I want to, I want to engage, but I also just, I get to a point where I'm like, I gotta stop. I gotta step back for a second, because I can't do what Instagram wants me to do right
Plus,
now and every day.
Totally. Plus, you said like you wish you had more control over what Instagram shows you. I also wish I had more control over my own thumb. Like, because sometimes don't you just like zone and scroll? Like we are literally like stuck in a loop of just moving your thumb over. Yeah. You know what I mean? You're just like, blah, blah, blah. And nothing is actually registering. You're just like, it's like this. Yeah. It's become so mindless. And I would like to be more mindful as I do it now,
Totally. I'm really trying to be more mindful, but that has its repercussions as well.
I know. Well, time. I mean, I know. You've already spent like 3 hours on it, and then
I know.
Where's the day gone?
Exactly.
I know.
Exactly.
I know. So anyway, yes, tell everybody about your party roll kits.
Yeah. So party rolls started a couple years ago. I just made these long, skinny. They're like 24 inches long, they're like 4 inches wide, scrap pieces basically, and I started rolling them up and kind of handing them out as gifts to people or friends. And, they're like snowflakes. Everyone is different because you have different scraps to work with each time. And so you can never make the same one twice. And so I made a bunch of those. And then I still make batches. I'll do a couple big pieces, and then I'll have a ton of scraps, and then I'll make a batch of party rolls. And then I was like, everyone has scraps. Everyone, who is a maker, or even if you're not a maker, like you have clothes you don't wear anymore, you have textiles lying around your house, like let's just, turn this into something that I can send people, but also put beautiful fibers in the kit as well. So I designed these looms with this woodworker, Martin Alexander is his name, he's wonderful. And he designed the loom so that I could fit it in the kit, but then also have it, be easily assembled. And it fit in the kit with all the fibers and all the tools. And then the kits were born.
Nice.
So I try to make a few of those whenever I have, the looms available and the materials.
Do you have instructions in there? Like, do you think are these beginner friendly?
These are beginner friendly.
Awesome.
There's instructions included. There's also, I made reels.
Nice.
Because I was just like, how can I keep it all in one place? And so I was like, I'll just do 6 or so reels on Instagram. And so there's one that's like how to assemble the loom, how to warp the loom, how to start your weaving. It's just, it's a tiny weaving essentially is what it is.
Right.
How to finish your weaving and cut it off the loom. So those are all on Instagram.
That's awesome. I also love that it's like a no waste, a no waste endeavor. Because you're right. I mean, there's scraps everywhere.
There's scraps everywhere.
And it also makes, so that, does that mean everybody's kit is kind of like one of a kind-ish?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll make probably anywhere from 2 to 4 of the same color. So each batch I put out is like, 4 colors, say, and then there's 2 or 3 of each color or something like that. So there's only a limited amount of each color because the fibers I put in there are also repurposed. They're not my scraps, but they are purchased from de-stash sales or given to me by friends, who don't want to use them anymore, or from my own personal collection. So they're not fibers purchased for the kits.
Right. Awesome. So they're the most eco-friendly, reuse, upcycled type of situation. That's awesome.
I try to think of every aspect. There's no plastic, in the kit. I really try to make it as eco-friendly and sustainable as possible.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, what do you feel like with your business? And I know that you're like very busy and you are taking commissions right now. Minimal I don't know. What you tell me? What's your situation and ultimately I'm wondering, where would you like to see your business go in the next few years?
Yeah. So I take commissions kind of as I can. I love them. I was so scared of them at first, but then when I started doing them, I realized it's really just a collaboration between you and someone else with, an idea that they want to see come to life. So I'm much more comfortable doing commissions now than I was a couple of years ago. And I'll try to take, a batch at a time and then I'll close them. So I'll open the window for, a handful of them for a month or 2, and then I'll close them so I can catch up on my own pieces that I want to do and my own ideas. Because that's how this whole thing started. I have to keep doing that. If I stop doing that, then I feel it and I get a little anxious about it.
Yeah, that's so great that you have that balance. I think it's probably one of the hardest things to do with this kind of business is find that balance between staying creative in the pieces that you want to do but knowing that knowing you're getting paid, you know what I mean? I think it's a really hard balance to strike. So that's awesome that you're able to find it.
Well, it's constant. It's a constant, push and pull. And I feel like I have these days where I think I figured it out, and then I have to kind of step back and reassess sometimes. Depending on the needs of the time. But because my schedule, it's getting more consistent now, the time that I can spend in the studio. But it wasn't for so long. So having time now is kind of like, ooh. I don't know. What do I want to do?
Totally.
I'd like to keep teaching. I started doing that last spring, I think. And I taught a bunch of classes last year, and that was so fun. And I didn't think I would enjoy it because I get so nervous, talking to people.
Well, especially now we're out of practice.
I know. I'm so much better with a one-on-one conversation than standing up in front of a bunch of people. And I was just like, no, I'm not going to do it. But then I was like, we're all coming out of COVID. We are all out of practice. This is the best time to try it, because I'm not alone. And then I did it and I was like, oh my gosh, we're all so excited to, be here with each other and making. So I'd like to keep doing that. And I'd like to I just always want to make bigger pieces. I'm just really, those are my favorite ones. Mine too. The ones that just take up the whole wall. And because for me, it's such a meditative practice. And on those big guys, they take, I don't know, 35+ hours sometimes, but that's just me, nodding and working and in the zone. And it's the best.
I agree. I love the big ones. That's the dream, is like to be commissioned to make the big ones so that you can just, and it's like, there's just so much freedom in the big ones.
Yeah, totally. And even if, sometimes I get bored of something I'm doing, and so then I'll just switch it up right there in the same piece, and
right.
I think sometimes that shows more than others. If it's like, I've done some pieces that are like, patchwork, or, there's like a little piece here of one technique, and then right next to it is a totally different technique. And it's because I just got bored of that one technique. And so I did another technique and tried to make it, all tied in together with, the colors or the materials or in some other way. So it's always like a big puzzle. I love puzzles. So it's just a bigger puzzle, and it takes me a little more time to figure it out. But when I do, it's just the greatest feeling in the world.
Yeah, you have a very special way of being able to tie things back in together that one wouldn't normally think would work, but then you make it happen. It's really cool. It's really cool.
Thank you. Sometimes I go like a little bit too. It's just like whenever I have an option to get weird, I take it.
Yes,
that's
like
what
I tell
myself. And so, but then I get like a little like bring her back in a little bit. Yeah. So I have, had to go in sometimes and like untie, many sections just to be like, okay, let's like rein it in a little bit here to make it more cohesive.
Let's be reasonable.
Let's be reasonable here.
I don't know, man. I like it. The weirder, the better. But yeah. Awesome. Well, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Is there anything else you wanted to like put out there or, let the world know about?
I don't think so. I think we covered it all. I'm so grateful for this opportunity, Cindy. Thank you so much. This was so much fun. I feel like I've known you for years, but I've never actually talked to you.
I know. It's not even like we don't
like this.
I know, totally. I know. Even like DMing, I don't know that we've done that much of it, So it's like, I'm super glad I got to get to know you and understand like, where your creative brain came from and all of that. You're so awesome. And I am very much looking forward to putting another piece behind me. So yeah, you guys if you guys are listening, I would suggest you go to YouTube and watch the YouTube a little bit because you can see all of Meg's, a bunch of Meg's pieces behind her in her studio, in her garage studio. You're so lucky, by the way, Southern California, that you can have a garage studio. I'm so jealous.
I know. It's pretty. It's my happy space.
Yeah, totally. Oh, so nice. But yeah, so you guys watch the YouTube and and so behind me, the reason I'm switching out the Monstera is because I feel like my green hair is like with green in the background, it's a little too much green. So we're gonna put some color behind me. I'm gonna go crazy. Plus, I feel like next. I'm in like a real bright color mood lately. Like even with like I feel like with clothes and just in general, like I'm like, I don't know. I'm definitely feeling colors.
I'm into it. I'm ready.
You're made for it. I don't know. I wonder if it's like a post pandemic. I guess if we can, I'm going to say yes, we're kind of post pandemic. So I wonder, I feel like it's like, it's like a sign of the times that people are just like, they're ready for more joy and.
Totally. We're ready. Post pandemic, post winter.
Totally.
I get it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much again, Meg. And once again, if you can just let people know where to find you.
Yeah, sure. It's just at Meg Spitzer on Instagram, and megspitzer.com is my website.
Awesome. Thanks so much again. I know I will be talking to you soon.
Thank you, Cindy.
Bye.
Bye.
Don't hang up. Hold on. I'm going to stop the recording. Hold on. Okay. How do you feel?
I feel good. I was so nervous.
Are you? Oh my God. You didn't have to be.
I was so nervous, but you made it so easy.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
You didn't seem nervous to me at all.
I've never I don't do reels. I don't do like videos. I'm not in front of the camera that much. And so I was just like, ooh.
No, well, you were great. It was awesome.
You made it easy. You're so good at this. And I'm just like obsessed with your podcast. So I'm just I'm so honored.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I second guess myself very like all the time with this podcast. And I still get nervous before all of them. Even I tell people not to be nervous, but I'm like, you are. It happens.
Yeah. You're putting yourself out there. Anytime you put yourself out there, you're going to be nervous.
Totally. So and there's always like a fear. For me, I'm like, can I always keep the conversation going? Like I just need to, you got to keep it going for an hour. But, you made that very easy too. So.
I mean, it flew by for me. So that's all you. That says a lot about you, I think.
Thanks. Yeah. I try.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I think I'll probably get this out sometime in the next 2. I have like 2 in the can. So one, I don't know, it might be 3 weeks. But if you can send me a photo or I can just choose one from Instagram, 1 or 2 or 3 from Instagram.
Sure.
Yeah. But even if you can get a shot of like you in front of what you have set up is like pretty awesome if you don't have that already. I was like, how do you not have a shot of this studio?
It's weird, like, because there's skylights in here. The light is really tricky.
Yeah.
And I can't control it. I just never know what it's going to do, and I can't ever find, it's
like
just
right now
cold.
Is good, actually. It's cold,
I wasn't, the light is cold. Where I usually take pictures is, warmer light, but because it bounces off, I don't know. I'm not a light expert, but I want to do more.
You are a post-production person, so I think you can figure that out.
I mean, that's the irony of this whole thing, right? It's like I went to school for this crap. I can't even figure out how to do it in my own house. Very strange.
I know. Thank you so much, Meg. Check the show notes of each episode to get the website and Instagram for each of the fiber artists I speak with. Be sure to give them a follow. And you can view video from this podcast on neromastudio.com/thefiberartistpodcast. If you enjoy the Fiber Artist Podcast, go to Apple Podcasts to subscribe, rate, and review. Thank you for listening.